This episode is brought to you by Love Hurts. Kiwi Kwan has had quite a career, from childhood roles in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom and The Goonies to a recent Academy Award win for Everything Everywhere All at Once. But now Ki finally stars as a leading man in the film Love Hurts. Love Hurts is the perfect date night movie with its mix of over-the-top action, comedy, and a ton of heart. Love Hurts, only at theaters February 7th.
Are negative Google reviews hurting your business? Don't let unfair feedback cost you customers. At Webamax, we specialize in removing false, misleading, and damaging reviews so your online reputation stays strong. Our expert team works quickly and legally to clean up your digital presence, helping you rebuild trust. Visit us on the web at www.gowebamax.com. That's GOWEBIMAX.com, or text us for a free quote at 856-840-8343. Don't let bad reviews define you. Get immediate help from Webamax.
Your neighborhood just got cooler with Kroger Delivery's refrigerated trucks. Simply order groceries at the same great prices online as in-store, and we'll bring them to you fresh every time. And if that wasn't cool enough, you can now earn 4 times the fuel points after 4 with your digital coupon. Choose a next-day Kroger delivery time slot for 4 p.m. or later on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. Must deliver by February 4th. Restrictions apply. See Kroger.com for details.
Hey, Atlanta. Say hello to Small Business Help from Apple. That's right. We're here to make starting and running your business simpler. From helping you choose the right devices to setting them up hassle-free, we can help you build your business in no time. Speak to a business expert and get the help you need at no cost whatsoever. At Apple, we're open for your small business. Go to apple.com/small business or visit an Apple store to learn more.
Keeping current with Kansas City, this is Thad Bell from the KC Soccer Journal. With me, Daniel Sperry, KC's star. How are you, sir?
We're doing good. How about yourself?
Not too bad. I have something I'm just going to say has absolutely nothing to do with soccer. It was my wife's birthday yesterday, so I'm wishing her happy birthday to all of the world who listens.
There you go. Happy birthday.
She's got to be a very patient and loving woman to put up with me, as you would well know.
I think all of us need very patient, loving people to deal with us.
Yeah, everybody does. I just might stress it a little bit more. Moving on. Kansas City Current. It's been a little while since we talked. We've been around the world doing a lot of different stuff. But I'd say the biggest news is Tim Chawinga is locked in until 2028.
Yeah, I mean, it's really good. She was originally only under contract through this year. Hopefully it comes with a good pay raise, and therefore the best striker in the league. So I'm interested to see, what this year brings. Another full year. Do people have more film on her? And does that make things different? How does she adapt to what teams are doing? I don't think she'll be able to quote unquote get in behind as often as she did. Teams are not going to be. I think teams with more film will be a little bit smarter to not give Kansas City a high line and space behind them to chip balls into. But you never know. Other than that though, like a little dumb tactical thought aside, it's a big deal to lock down a player like that, in my opinion. And you know, they've shown a lot of growth in recent years in terms of like rewarding players with contracts before their like contract year hits, kind of a thing. I think there was, a couple of years ago, if I recall, especially last year in the transition, I was looking at this offseason and I was looking at how many players were out of contract based on the contracts that Camille Larson had signed a lot of these players to, and there was a lot of contracts up this year, and they've done really well to rework those in a way that obviously is hopefully financially good for the cap and all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, you're also looking at what they're doing and saying like, okay, they're like actually rewarding players with a bit of longevity and not just, all right, we'll string you on for another year and a bunch of options so we can
Right.
get rid of you if you have a bad year or something like that. Like there's maybe a few 1 year vet contracts, Christian Hamilton, a 1+1, which we'll talk about later, but like, there's a couple that were signed to contracts like that. And Temwa initially got a 2 year contract. I think most places in the world are giving out at least somewhat 3 years, whether it's two and an option or three total. Um, there's something like that. And the NWSL for a long time has not been good about long-term contract extensions. So it's good to see um, players get rewarded with some stability and longevity and hopefully higher pay.
No, I totally agree on that. I'm going to go back for a second. You said that teams won't let her get in behind them as easily. They knew what she was capable of in the second half of the season, and she was still doing that a fair amount. Yes, they did do a little better job of not letting her do it as much, but she still did it. So I think that still has the capability. Plus, uh, we've talked about this last year. They were missing players, so they were kind of one note with her a lot. They had to kind of do that. They were one dimensional in how they were able to use her. If Bia's healthy, if some of the other players are able to do some of the things that we think they might be able to do, that also opens her up for a lot better chances there. So I don't want to say that they'll know her better because they already know her. I mean, it's not like anybody was surprised by her at the end of the year. There's really only one team I think that was able to shut her down towards the end of the year, and they won the leagues. So,
They shut a lot of good players down,
yes. So
a lot of them.
right.
Like it's fair. But yeah, no, I think too, like even like looking at, there's rumors of Sophia Smith, now Wilson, married. Um, uh, Sophia, there was rumors, Jenna Nyswanger just makes the move over to Arsenal. Um, Chelsea was in the rumored to be in the mix for like a bunch of different, uh, national team players that they were looking at. Of course, Smith was one of them, but Trinity Rodman has been linked with moves over there. So it's interesting because, like, in my opinion, I don't think the salary cap game is necessarily hurting them, but they're on some contracts. Except, Smith did get a pretty big contract extension last year, but again, it's the longevity thing. Lock players up for a foreseeable amount of time. Like Temma's here for 4 years, four
Yep.
years of Temo Chawinga under contract, and that is going to it would have to be a world breaking, record breaking transfer fee to do that. Some of that too is the idea of what the cost is within the league. Does a player like Naomi Girma stay in the NWSL if the Kansas City Current were able to offer you know, uh, a transfer fee for her that, doesn't come in allocation money or funds you have to purchase? Could the Current have just paid the San Diego Wave, the $1 million and taken Germa? Like that doesn't exist within the NWSL. And so if a player wants slash needs out maybe needs out of a situation like that, the teams aren't able to come calling in that manner that the way these European teams are. And I think that's like, there's not a lot of trades where the type of cash can go back and forth in the current system for it to kind of equate to keeping those players in, whether it's the transfer fee that's a hindrance for it. Because if you look at what the current have Dabinia through 2026 and 2020 with the option for 2027. They have they have Bia through this year. I'm sure I would not be shocked if they end up with some sort of extension for her if she does well. Tem was through 2028. You have on the back line Ellie Wheeler and Alana Cooks through 20. Ellie Wheeler's through 28, goalkeepers through 27, Alana Cooks through 27. Like those are all players with 3 year contracts. Vanessa Bernardo at 31, 32 gets another like 2 year deal,
Yeah.
and will be around for a couple more years. Like there's ways to keep players in the league, and especially players that demand good, like high level contracts. Low, I assume too. Although her contract's up this year. Like we're talking there's a lot of like players on this roster that should be making pretty significant dollar. So like I don't love hearing the salary cap like thing when like looking at all these star players. Like if the current are able to figure out how to do it, you should be able to figure out how to do it too. Then like it's whatever they're doing seems legal at the moment. Like no one, there was a team that got caught for doing illegal things and they were bad. So like
Yes.
maybe just do the legal things better than everybody else and or at a much more efficient, smarter level. And guess what? You can be a good team. I don't know. Like that, like I don't love the arguments that I'm hearing about like where the future of the NWSL is headed. Because oh, we can't keep, we can't compete to keep all these players here because of the salary cap. Well, sure, yes, the salary cap needs to raise, but other teams are figuring it out how to do it. And so maybe the NWSL needs to figure out a way that team players can move within the league to the teams in the way that MLS has created this transfer cash system where you can just basically say give a wad of cash to a team and take one of their best players,
Yeah.
like the team across town is trying to do currently. There's seriously that that's the thing that doesn't quite exist at that full capacity of the NWSL that I think would help maybe break that open to keep players. If you above all else, if you want to keep stars like Temwa, like Soph, like Trinity, if you want to keep them in the league, then like maybe instead of just trying to keep them on that team, if they want to try a different team, fine. But like above all else, keep them in the league, and that might be one way to do it.
Yeah, no,
And
it'll
I'll
be
get
good
off
if
my
they can
soapbox.
keep them. Yeah, no, I was trying to, off ramp you there a little bit. It's absolutely would be great if they can keep all their players. Reality is, some people are just going to want to go play in Europe because that's been what Americans have known for forever.
Right.
I want to go play in England. I want to go play in France or whatever. Right? That's cool.
Jenna Neiswanger said it in her interview with Just Women's Sports. Like she's like, I watched the Premier League since I was 9. Like
Right.
I've dreamed of going to Arsenal and playing at Arsenal someday. Like that's a real thing that exists for some of these players. But if it's a financial things should not be a barrier in this league.
Well, I think the financial thing will be changing with this league. I mean, it's rapidly changed over just the last few years. Owners that are committed to doing things, teams like Kansas City specifically that will own their own revenue streams with stadium and things like that. It's changing. It's just not going to change overnight. Um, the So there's that will affect it over time. I don't, and I think it's I mean it's I've looked at this for a long time now. NWSL came in, they had to kind of follow in the footsteps of MLS just because it was the model that was working in the US. But they're rapidly, catching up and if not passing them in certain aspects, the no drafts and things like that.
Hmm.
So they will, I think, over the next couple of years, probably have implemented some of these other things that will help them keep. And then you'll have owners who
Yeah.
have the cash to do those things. So
Yeah,
it's
that
changing.
is another thing too. That is another thing too, is having the owners that have the
Right.
cash and the capital and want to do it.
That's what it
Um,
always comes down to, man. I mean, if
mhm.
if there's rules to prevent you from doing something, but you have cash, they might be a way around it. But having the owners, I mean, I've had this discussion a lot of the last couple of weeks with indoor soccer. You if and But it always comes down to you have to have an owner that has money to commit to doing it and wants to do it and wants to do it right. You can have teams that have, an owner might have money, but they don't care to do it right. They just want to have a team.
Mhm.
Once you have these and again, you will have teams that will do well. You'll have teams that have everything committed. They have the money. They're committed to do it, and it will still fail because you're in a competition with other people trying to do the exact same thing. So it will, but over time, those teams will be successful more often than not. So, but speaking of teams and expansion, there's now going to be 16 teams not this year, but next year, right? 26.
Yeah,
So the most recent one announced was Denver. We already knew about Boss Nation, and now Denver. Uh,
yeah,
so that should be an interesting, good road trip for the current.
yeah. Um, love getting more road trips that are within a 8 hour radius.
Yeah.
Like right now there's one and that's Chicago. So being able to add Colorado into that should be fun. I think a Colorado Utah Derby would be a blast, getting the Rocky Mountain Cup into the
Yep.
NWSL. That's always kind of a fun in a cheeky way derby in MLS. But outside of LA, San Diego, and Bay, LA, there's not a lot of time to build that up between those fan bases. But at this point, some of that is built into to their existing fan bases just from regional rivalries. But in reality, like this Rocky Mountain Cup should be fun in terms of a rivalry and a derby. It'll add another close rival for the current, and it's a city that's got soccer clout, man. Like there are a lot of players from Colorado that are
Yep.
good players
Yeah.
that came up in that area, and I will be so interested to see.
Imagine what's possible when learning doesn't get in the way of life. At Capella University, our game-changing FlexPath learning format lets you set your own deadlines so you can learn at a time and pace that works for you. It's an education you can tailor to your schedule. That means you don't have to put your life on hold to pursue your professional goals. Instead, enjoy learning your way and earn your degree without missing a beat. A different future is closer than you think with Capella University. Learn more at capella.edu.
Whether you're ordering wings for the game, whipping up a 7-layer dip, or ordering pizza, there's something about football that makes you want to eat. And this football season, Uber Eats has the best deals on game day food. No matter what you're craving, from 2-for-1 pizza to buy one, get one wings, Uber Eats will be dropping new deals each week, all season long. Uber Eats, official on-demand delivery partner of the NFL. Order now. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details.
Those like see like what how they attract free agents, like the players that want to come play there, as long as the infrastructure and staff and the finances are right, of course, which I think those are three very huge things to get. I think the idea of a Colorado teams can be very attractive to a lot of very good Colorado natives that
Oh yeah.
play at the professional level.
Absolutely. And I think I don't know the ownership group. I haven't really. I know the announcement came out. I've just been really busy. I haven't like dug into any of that stuff. Hopefully, I'll worry more about it as the year goes on. But
It's not the Rapids owners, so it's already
which,
a win.
yeah, that's good. But there'll be a big thing is where will they play and all of that stuff, which I don't think is any of that's been announced. So that will be really a key into a lot of that too.
Yeah.
But
They
hopefully they do
are,
it
I
right.
will, they have been very much like the current ownership in voicing their intent to build a training facility and a temporary stadium first, and then getting a real gem
Cool.
jewel to play in. They will not, it does not sound like they will share DSG with the Rapids, nor have the intent to try to do that. They would rather build their own pop-up stadium kind of a thing, like what you see in Phoenix if you watch USL,
Yeah.
and
Phoenix Rising.
Birmingham, Phoenix Rising. There's a few other too, and like USL League. Well, I mean, arguably North Carolina, Courageous Stadium, it could be considered kind of a pop-up stadium. Metal bleachers and a kind of shipping container type of press box, and call it good. That though that park, like a stadium like that, does not take that long to build. I'll be dead honest, it does not. So it'll be interesting to see how quickly they get all that stuff up and running. But that's their goal, and they're talking about that like as the core principles of bringing that team to Denver. Is like those things will be part of it, and they will. And I thought, Jessica Berman talked a little bit about the owning your own venue kind of a thing and how it's going to work for some, not for others. But this is a good thing. And I'll say this, just because the Rapids are a crappy organization and have made their fans hate them, don't sleep on Denver as an actual soccer city. There's a lot of people at the high level that do not care about soccer in that city, sadly, hence their failed World Cup bid, and stuff like that. But at the grassroots level, the people love the game there.
Yeah.
There are soccer pubs all over the city. Like my friend writes for is the manager and editor of Burgundy Wave. And I went to visit him a couple years ago for a game between the Rapids and Sporting, and like we're driving through downtown and just like he's naming off all the bars of all the different clubs. That like from Bundesliga to the Italian joint that shows Napoli games to all of the the British teams and the Premier League teams, like it's a soccer city. There's a lot of people that love the game of soccer there, and if it's done right and it's branded right, it's going to be. I think it'll be really successful.
We'll have to like come up with some possible names for him. Not right now though, because I'm not ready
Yeah.
to throw something out there. I'd probably get in trouble for it. All right, so we got that. Uh, in our next here segment, we have Current has made three signings, or two of them are re-signings. It's two that we
Mhm.
knew were coming, but we actually thought it was going to take a little bit longer, but some things changed, some things fell through. So Elizabeth Ball and Kristen Hamilton are re-signed, and
Mhm.
I know you have right off the top of your head what their contracts are. It was like 1 and 1 for what was it for Hamilton or
For
Ball?
Hammy, for Hammy, 1 and 1 for Hammy and 2 and 1 for Ball.
Right,
So Ball is through 2026 with an option for 27. Hammy is through this year with an option for the 26.
which that makes a lot of sense to me because I think Ball has the longer term in this game right now. I mean, I love Hammy.
Well, yeah, yeah, I think Ball might be like 28, 29 at most. Hammy's 30, 31, and will probably be 32 by this time the season starts. And that's just the way Father Time is undefeated,
Yep.
for a reason,
Yep.
and especially in soccer. So, as you get older, those contracts get a little bit shorter, just to see if you can keep going, if you want to keep going, kind of a stuff, and gives you opportunities to play. I
Well,
mean, Desi Scott's been playing on a 1 year contract for like a decade, so um, it's one of those that uh, it's a good move. But yeah, add those two back. Like we said all along on this podcast, on social media and articles, they're always going to come back. They
yeah.
will be back. It's just a matter, there's some interesting things that were kind of behind the scenes. None of that matters. They're under contract. They'll be with camp soon, and
Yeah. I know
yeah.
at some point we will be able to say what was going on. I still don't feel like I can say because I don't want to be saying things wrong. So nothing bad, just something fell
Nope,
through. So they were back faster than they expected. They were always expected to be back. The
correct.
other signing, Haley Hopkins. What do you think of
Yeah.
that one?
It's funny, because I asked the question of Laco. I asked
You
him
did.
in the press conference. I said, "What more do you want to add to this team? You have two more roster spots open at the moment." Because in my head, I'm thinking Alex Pfeiffer, Gabrielle Robinson will be on SCI for at least the first month of the season, in my opinion, if not longer. Um, and he said immediately, we want a striker, but someone that's different, a little bit different than what we have. We need someone tall, physical, good aerially, can hold the ball up, bring others into play. And he said it with a very wry grin on his face. And by that was like at 11 o'clock in the afternoon, or 11 o'clock in the morning, and by 2 o'clock they had announced a
Yeah.
trade with North Carolina for Hopkins. She is every bit that. If you
Yep.
look at her, go to FBref and like look at her skill chart. I mean, she is in like the 97th percentile for passes attempted by a striker. She is in the 95th percentile for like aerial dual win percentage. She is way up there for expected assists. The goals haven't quite come for her yet, but she is the big physical hold up striker, that is very good aerially, which will be good on set pieces late in games, both for attack and defensively. And she's kind of a workhorse. If you look at again, like her defensive percentiles is like way high compared to what a lot of strikers normally put in. So I think you will see a lot of good from Hopkins with this team off the bench, maybe in spot starts if Bia needs to sit out for a little bit, or
Yep.
she was very injured throughout last year on and off, and I think this gives them a player that's kind of in the same build and same ilk. Maybe not same true talent level, because Via's technical ability is like off the freaking charts. However, it gives someone that they can maybe hold up and play through.
Right. And that's where I was talking about earlier with Tim was that they will have a big physical forward available to them, whether it's Bia or Haley Hopkins, to do something to allow Timois to play off of them and to help set up those passes and connect and be the brute force when necessary and put away goals.
Yeah.
For North Carolina
She was
last year,
go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to say she
Sorry.
was actually tied for third with 3 goals. So they were not a high scoring team. It was 5 goals, 4 goals, and 3 goals. And then well, 3 or 4 players with 3 goals, a couple with 2. So it wasn't a high scoring team, not like Kansas City was. So I think her goals will probably double this year, even if she's not the starter, quite honestly, just by having opportunities to play with a team that's, again, if Kansas City is as good this year as they were last year.
Yeah.
So go ahead with what you're going to say.
No, I was gonna say this is a player that was graded as a first round draft talent like 2 years ago. So you're also like you're getting a 24, 25-year-old player at the oldest into this team. She played with Alexis Spanstra at Virginia. And she's this was actually a player. It was funny. Wherever the current were originally scheduled to pick in that draft round, I think where they picked Spanstra, there was a few like mock drafts that had the current back then taking Hopkins as a striker. So I thought it was kind of interesting that they ended up coming back to her. Obviously, scouts people like her. And this is this completely different regime that's in here that also likes her and wants her around here. So I think she'll be a good fit stylistically with what she brings. Like we said, she brings something different, which they kind of tried that false nine thing with Nichelle Prince a little bit, but she's just a little too undersized to be able to hold up the ball and be and kind of be that physical presence that Bia was, and take up space that way. But Haley is that kind of player, and so it's a good move. We've got a lot of Haleys on this team now. We went from double Claires to double Haleys, and then the Nichelle and Michelle. So we've got a lot of close names here.
Yeah.
Laurel, Lorena, like they just want like to make it hard on us? Is that what they want?
And it's
Like
it's
Vlaco's
already
sitting there
hard on
like
me, man.
saying like, ha ha ha, Dad, I got you.
Yeah, it's already hard on me, man. I always make fun of how I pronounce names, and I've made fun of myself for of saying the wrong first name for Pfeiffer about 1 million times because I know a girl named Alyssa Pfeiffer, so I keep saying that. So it's just it just keeps messing me up, man. But hey, I own up to my mistakes. I know where I'm not good at. So back to Haley for a second. I was going back and looking at some photos and some highlights and stuff, and she seemed to be playing a lot on the left, not in the middle when I saw her play last year. But I know that's not where Vlaco sees her. Vlaco definitely sees her in the middle. I don't know. Did she play more in the middle than I'm thinking she did? Or because I swear she played on a wing a lot.
Yeah, she did, and I think they were. His setup is interesting. Sean Nahas's and kind of how he had players set up. That obviously if you look at like her skill chart there, um, in that forward role, she is very much a on FBref. You can go and look up.
Yep.
I have this thing that like spits it into like a wheel kind of a thing, their data and everything, and she shows up so high across all of the defensive percentiles, and I think part of that just maybe her work ethic, and that hard workman type player. That's something that Vlaco talked a lot about was having players and play a style that embodies Kansas City that can be physical and blue collar, while flashy and with flair as well. They play on his Warriors and artists philosophy for a decade plus now, and she definitely fits that kind of blue collar forward that you need sometimes to be that player that's gonna do the dirty work in the trenches against a tough physical back line against like Orlando, like Washington has a pretty physical back line as well as Gotham did as well. Jess Carpenter and a few others back there. So having a player that can bring that physicality there, I can see like to me that's why I see maybe Nahas used her on the wing, and was kind of going at times for like a very false 90
Yeah.
kind of a thing. At times you had Victoria Pickett there. He wanted someone that was going to pull players in and out of position and be crafty with the ball. That doesn't not entirely Hopkins' game, but that would explain the way why her chart looks the way it does.
Yeah.
But like I'm like you, like she probably should be a striker, and if that's how Vlaco is going to view her, doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's exactly how he views her. Obviously, almost all of these players can play anywhere across the front line, and maybe some other places. Just because we know the Bina goes in and out of the front line into the midfield. Nichelle can do that. It's just going to be a very interesting. I mean, right now I'm just thinking if you're a not super strong back line, could you imagine having a front line of Haley and Bia and Timwa come running at you? Or Haley in the middle, Timwa and Michelle Cooper on the, it's there's going to be some sore defenders, I think.
Yeah.
All right. Um, any other current news that we should have? Let's see. Speaking of Bia, she's in camp. Vlaco made it sound like it's probably 2 to 3 to 4 weeks before she's back in training because she's coming off of she's in the back to play protocol, and then she'll go to high performance, then join the
Yeah.
team for training.
And I don't know if it ever got truly reported, but um, I am going to uh, be comfortable saying that like she was dealing with another stress fracture in her foot. So it's one of those things of like
Yeah.
with those kinds of injuries, you have to be very, very careful. And you want, especially if they are weight-bearing injuries, you want to be very, very careful of how quickly you rush players back like that. And when you have time, gosh darn it, use it. So yeah, I don't think fans should worry about them maybe
No.
slowly bringing her back into the mix.
Yeah. They want to be smart because they don't need her right away. And you got to give her time to get back. And stress fractures are like harder than actual regular fractures, in my opinion. And so if you break something normally, you stay off of it, you're good. You have a stress fracture, it's just so hard to stay off of those things.
Mhm. Very
I
hard.
I know from experience. Let's see. Everybody's in camp, as far as I know. Uh, all the keepers, everybody else has
All
showed
the
up.
keepers, everyone else has arrived and is in camp. So I don't know how long it'll take Hopkins to get there, but that's probably
She's
the
there.
last. Is she there now? The
Yeah,
last,
they
the
showed
last
on social
straggler.
media today.
Okay. Okay, good.
So hey, no reason delaying,
Been
right?
very. Look at you on social media up with it. I got sidetracked by
Yeah,
other
I'm
things
I'm
this
usually
afternoon. So
I'm usually not the guy who's like, oh, I saw him there on social media, and I think it's just because they tweeted it out. So that's about the only reason.
not didn't blue ski it out, blue sky it
Maybe
out.
they did. I don't know.
No, they don't have it. So
Really,
it's funny, yeah. And it's interesting.
it's there. Yeah, right now
The
is a
the
very
league
interesting time with social media.
the league is the only I think the only account that's actually operating on that app at the moment. None of the teams are.
Uh, that's the. I'm not getting in the fight of you should or shouldn't go with this or that app. I'm just a little surprised that NWSL teams aren't at least
Correct.
doing dual duty.
That is a question a lot of fans have. Me as well.
I'm
But I also don't make marketing decisions, so
No,
who knows?
and I mean personally, I haven't actively been doing Blue Sky, so I
Yeah.
have one, and I will probably start doing more on it.
Yeah.
But that's just because a lot of soccer people have moved. But I'm also old and slow, so yeah. Any other
I'm
current
getting
news?
there.
Any other big NWSL news? Just want to make sure I'm not forgetting
Crystal
something.
Crystal Dunn out at Gotham.
Yeah, I saw a rumor that she was going somewhere, but I don't know if that was ever
I
anything
don't
based.
I am dead serious. I've been so busy the last couple of days that I don't know if that ever got announced or if it's 100% true, but
Yeah.
yes.
It was somewhere like England. I just don't. I'll be honest, I don't remember. Again, I've been very busy, and I saw it pop up, so I
She
focus
joined
much more.
PSG. That's who it was. She went to
Okay,
France. She is at
okay.
PSG.
Um, I focus much more on Kansas City teams first, and
Yeah,
then I worry about
that's fair.
everything else. All right, man. Hey, I appreciate the time. I appreciate you joining. We will. I'm sure we will be doing some more in the near future because there will be some kind of
Yep.
preseason thing that we will get a highlight from.
Yep, and we will be getting to a point where we are back in the swing of games and
Yep.
doing this every week. So we're almost back, folks.
I
It's
think I
it's
think on a
January 31st. We hit February and it gets real.
I think here soon, one of the next week or two, we should do a, kind of a just a verbal depth chart where everybody's at. We think because we want. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's going to be hard to know for sure because we're not there in training camp watching them, but it's something to
Yeah.
talk about, right?
It's something to talk about.
I think that should be a song. All right, man.
Hmm.
I appreciate the
Oh,
time.
I was gonna say you were gonna. Sorry, I
Go
am
ahead.
jumped your gun. You were gonna say, probably, you have any last words, and I was gonna say yes. One, I don't know if we talked about it on the last podcast, but Casey Currents, PR spokesperson, and our go-to guy
Yep.
for help at games and in practices and setting up interviews for us and stuff like that for the last couple of years, has moved on and moved to Bay FC, where he's in kind of a vice president of marketing,
Yep.
PR, kind of a role there. So I just wanted to take the opportunity to say thank you for everything for the last couple of years and thank you for being one of the best, genuinely one of the better NWSL, if not the best NWSL team to work with, comms wise, as I've had to work with
Yeah.
quite a few at this rate. This is not just hometown favoritism. The current do it better than most, if not all of them in the league at this rate. So I'm sure Danny and Landon will do great, and we will thank them for continuing doing what they do. But
All right.
yeah, shout out
Can I
to
just
Jeff.
point out something you just failed at? You
What?
didn't mention Jeff's name. Jeff
Jeff
Houston.
Husted. That's a big fail. Yeah. Thanks, Jeff. Big Jeff. No,
And
we love Jeff.
I've known
Yeah.
Jeff since the Comets came back in 2010. And he's been a PR guy for them for FCKC and back with the Current and some other places in between. So I've known him for a long time. Always been a good guy. I'm sometimes not always a good guy, so we have sometimes banged heads, but he's always been pretty gracious about it in the end, and he's a good guy. So Bay had got a good deal with getting him. And I've mentioned this on other pods, so I don't know if we did on the last one, because we also knew for a while, but we didn't want to say where he was going until he announced it. It's out of respect for people doing their own announcements.
Yes, I'm not Adam Schefter gonna break inside industry moves. So, but
Yeah.
again, of course, thank you for everything, Jeff and
Yep.
Jeff Husted, and of course, good
We
luck.
will we will now expect the same high level from Danny and Landon and whoever they replace Jeff with.
Yes. Eat some tacos for me out there, buddy. That's it.
All right. All right, man. We are out.